Welcome to the Healing Space Live and Online Chats with Roxanne and Rhonda. This podcast will share information on self-love, living a wellness-filled life, having healthy relationships, how to avoid unhealthy relationships, how to heal from traumatic events, and more. If this is your first time joining us, we welcome you and we hope this will not be your last. Enjoy the show. Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Healing Space Live and Online Chats with Roxanne and Rhonda. Today, we're going to talk about our past shows. We're just going to do a reflection of our past 10 shows. We did this previously, so we thought we'd just do an update and recap on the past 10 shows. So, Rhonda, I think I want you to start first.
First of all, I want to say hello to everyone. It is still January. I believe in saying Happy New Year, the whole month of January. Now, of course, you may be listening to this in July, and that's okay too. Just know that we recorded it in January of 2022, and we want to wish you all a Happy New Year. We want to thank you that if you're coming back with us from 2021, when we got started, and you've come along with us from then. And if this is your first time listening, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're glad you're here. So Roxanne said we did this before. We previously did a review of our topics, and it serves a purpose for us, and we certainly hope for you as well. It reminds Roxanne and I of where we have come, the journey that we've been on so far, and looking at our consistency. And we hope that you will hear something that you will say, oh yeah, I missed that episode, or I didn't catch that episode, or I heard that and I want to listen to it again. So we're going to just walk through a couple of them. No particular order. If you look where you get your podcast, you'll see them numbered, but we're not necessarily going in a specific numbered order. So I'm just going to start with talking about one of the episodes we did that was very touching to me. For those listening maybe for a first time, our underlying message is always around relationships, specifically intimate partner balance, domestic balance, and the imbalance of power and control. We also talk about healthy relationships, characteristics of a healthy relationship as well. So it's always going to be a focus on relationships. And the episode, Roxanne, that we did, that we titled, You Bent Me, but You Didn't Break Me. Because an intimate partner balance, when there's that imbalance, the person who uses power and control, also referred to as the batterer or the abuser, but we like the language, person who uses power and control. A lot of times that person's goal is to break you, to get you to a point where your spirit is broken, your emotionality is broken. And the guest we had that day, we had a panel of 3. Roxanne will give you more information later, but we do a live show monthly. And this was our live show that particular day. And we had Margot Levette, we had Dr. Terrace Moss, and we had Mary Fernandez. And the 3 of them shared either their personal experience or their experience with helping others, particularly in the younger age group of 14 to 24. So they each talked about it. I want to share just a couple lines, just really a couple lines. Roxanne, one of the things that I noticed early on was they talked about isolation. They were looking at what are red flags, because we all know that when we get into a beginning relationship, it's flowers and it's butterflies and it's foreplay and it's touch me here, touch me there. Ooh, 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 ooh. And in an abusive relationship, red flags show up early on. Those signs sometimes become overwhelming because you realize that you don't have a lot of choice in those moments. So sometimes you get touched and you like it, and you touch your partner back and they like it. Another time you touch your partner and they jerk away and ask, why did you do that? because it's about power and control and always keeping you off your mark. And they talked about early on, one of the red flags was isolation, taking you away from friends and family members. Another one that was mentioned was lies. And we know early on in relationships sometimes that we tend to hear a lot of fantasized type stories. Like, yeah, when I go to the gym, I bench press 340. Like, okay, yeah, maybe, probably not. So one of the guests that day shared that she noticed the lies, and when she would confront him later about the lies, he got angry and he had a certain tone in his voice, and he always used that tone when she confronted him in a particular lie that he told. Another one that they shared on that one, I'm going to share this and move on, was the perception. This is so important. She talked about the perception she had growing up of relationships. And sometimes that perception leads us to believe that we're supposed to always be coupled. And she said she had to learn for herself that she is enough. She likes herself, and that's another critical point. When someone is trying to bend and break you, learn that you are enough. You are whole when you went into that relationship, and you are whole while you're in it. Someone who has the tendency and behavior to bend you is an imbalance of power and control. So that's an update on you bent me, but you didn't break me. All those women, one is now in a wonderful marriage, loves her husband, talked very, very positive about him, and he's like her knight in shining armor. And another panelist said that night, you give us hope. She said, you give me hope that yes, that positive relationship is out there for her too. Thank you, Roxanne. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to say that if you love yourself inside and out, a lot of this stuff, the abuse can be eliminated. I'm not saying you might not experience it. You might experience it that one time, but it's not going to continue because you love yourself inside and out. You're not taking this mess. So, okay, another episode we did was called Straight Talk, Domestic Violence. This was they're all my favorite. Let me just say that. I love them all, but I really like this one because it was a call to men by a man. And it was Tony Porter. He did a TED Women Talk. And he talked about, stories of from his own life. He talked about the mentality, how this mentality of men showing power is drummed up in so many men and boys, and it can lead to disrespect, mistreatment, and abuse of women and each other. So I'm not going to go into, because we just want to just give you some snippets real quick, but he talked about what's called the man box. And I strongly encourage you to go listen to this one so you can understand what the man box is. Okay. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Yeah, I was up to Tony Porter. Does excellent work in the field of domestic violence. Then in December 2021, we had one, and we love this title, Sex and the Family. Yeah, okay. We kind of took it from Sex in the City. You might have heard that before.
A little bit.
Say it again?
I said a little bit.
Yeah, I could have heard it. So Sex in the Family, though, we had a sex therapist, Avi Diamond, and a marriage and family therapist, Carly Clay. And they were very good together as guests because we talked about, well, what does a sex therapist do? We dispelled some myths on that show of what sex therapists really do in a relationship. Also, very important, Roxanne talked about and asked about, well, what about if someone had been abused and violated sexually, and how do they bounce back? And that's something a sex therapist may address. And a sex therapist may address beginning problems of someone who later has sexual dysfunctions, and it may definitely connect to that. And it was wonderful how that intersected with marriage and family therapists. Carly Clay talked about a marriage and family therapist, spoke about the fact that she presently doesn't see children, she used to, but she now works with adults only. And it was amazing how there is a crossover sometimes between those two topics. And they both talked about recognizing, and they both recognizing, and they both have standards around addressing intimate partner violence and what to do, or when to refer to a domestic violence program, or when to stop seeing the couple together. So I thought that was very powerful. And in the end, we talked about that with sex and relationships, that sometimes pleasure in your partner may just be through watching your partner masturbate, or touching your partner in certain places, or just staring at each other in the eyes for a certain amount of time. And that sometimes that's ways that couples who are experiencing sexual problems can address their issues and grow together. Highly recommend it. And my apologies, I want to make sure I name the panelists from the program I just mentioned. You bit me, but you didn't break me. I'm not, did I say, I did say their names. I'm sorry, I did. I said their names. Okay.
Now,
That's it.
isn't that type of sex that you was talking about as far as watching each other? Is there a name for that? Is it called tundra or something to that effect? Is that type of?
I'm not sure. Was that
I
something that she said on the show?
I can't. I don't. I thought you brought that up. I mean, I thought that was a issue or something, an article that you had read or something like that. But there is some. I don't know. We'll look it up and have it for another show. Because,
And
but
hey, if you
anyway,
listen, go check it out and let us know. When
yeah,
Roxanne
but
tells you our
yeah.
email address, email us and say what you was referring to was.
Yeah, correct us. We have no problem with that. Yeah. So this in August of 2021, we had a panel called Resources Galore. This was another one of our live shows. And we spoke with Vashti Bledsoe from the Lutheran Settlement House, who's our sponsor. Hey y'all. Thank you very much. And she shared with the resources they have in the Philadelphia area. And then we had Rebecca Garcia from RAIN, the acronym R, all capital letters, RAINN, which stands for Rape, Abuse, and Incest International Network. And we also had Kevin B. Wells, who's the executive director and founder of the Baker Wells House here in Pittsburgh. They have a drug abuse recovery program, and they do a whole lot of other things. He has a Facebook group that he was encouraging people to join. Now, even though this was his programs in Pittsburgh and Lutheran Settlement Houses in Philadelphia, now in RAIN is a national program. There are similar programs in your area, and we strongly encourage you to seek them out and take advantage of them. Okay, Rhonda, it's your turn.
So another one we have was called Your Love Language. And we did a part 1 and part 2 for Your Love Language. Part 1 was just Roxanne and I chatting about it. In part 2, we had two younger couples, younger in age as in 30-ish or thereabouts. So we had Jalen and Kayla Thomas, and we had Cameron and Winter Clay. So they were on part 2. But here were the words that we talked about. We talked about being vulnerable. We talked about the chase. We talked about cheating. And we talked about the relaxation phase of a relationship. And for love language, we looked at that. We brought that terminology for what is your love language around those areas in a relationship. And we talked about vulnerable, and it was really interesting because even with Roxanne, we had some different opinions about what does that word really mean to be vulnerable. And we talked about one way it means is that I can just be open and I can be naked and I can be truthful with my partner emotionally, spiritually, in any way I want to, because I don't have any fear of condemnation from my partner. So vulnerable in that sense means I can open up and just be me. And actually, the couples, when we did Love Language Part 2, the couples really talked about the fact that they are at that space in their relationship. And they kind of connected that to what was kind of our phase 4, the relaxation phase, the phase where I think we used the word comfortable, the comfortable phase, just that phase where you can just be you. If you want, like one person wants to watch TV downstairs in the family room and the other person wants to watch in the bedroom, no big deal. You know,
Right.
it's all just comfortable and safe.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about emotional safety in the relationship. And interestingly for them, because they're married, they all said for the chase, for them, the chase is over. But they did talk about the fact that even in a marriage or relationship, you still do kind of like the chase, kind of flirt. So we talked about the chase being the flirtatious stage for sure. And what Roxanne and I pride ourselves on is being real and open and honest. So when we have not a disagreement, but a difference of opinions, we like to share that with you right on air, right in this podcast, so that you can see there can be differences to the same side of a coin. There can be differences to that same story, and people look at it and the impact of it on relationships differently. The one thing we all agree on is about the imbalance of power and control. Other than that, it's open to how you might see it or hear it. So we encourage you to listen to Love Language Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, I really enjoyed listening to those youngins. I tell you, and most of our guests, we were like, oh, we need to have you come back. We need to do a part 2 and this, that, and the other, you know. So then we had one in July. No. Yeah, this was July, July 22nd. It was called Domestic Violence in the News. This is just a real simple one. Rhonda and I just sat back and talked about some of the unfortunate domestic violence stories that we hear in the news, and Rhonda shared some a horrible story. We want you to go listen to it, so I'm not going to tell you it. And we talked about how this affects the children. So that's important as well. The affects the domestic violence. It has an effect on all of us, actually, even in the workplace. You know, you were beat up last night, so how are you going to be productive at work the next day? So that's costing the employer. You know, healthcare costs are rising and all of that. So it affects all of us, but it really bothers me how it affects the children. And the real quick story, I think it was just a real quick, Rhonda. What was it? A little boy. Oh man.
Refresh my memory a little more. I'm sorry.
The story you was telling about never mind, go listen to it, y'all. That's okay, because we're gonna move on. How about that? We just want
What's
you
the
to go
name of
check
the
it out.
show again? What was the name of
Oh,
that
domestic
episode?
violence in the news. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, Roxanne, I have to pause for a moment. We didn't talk about this in advance, so do have to pause for a moment because here in Pittsburgh, we're on the heels of a domestic violence homicide. A young woman, age 28, who was just murdered recently, and it has shook this city. She was well known, not a celebrity, but just I will just say in my small part of the world, I have heard about her in multiple ways. Somebody I know who had her as a student, somebody I know who is in a sorority, and that particular sorority had a group from age 14 to 18 that they worked with, and this young woman who was murdered was one of their. It was in their inaugural group for their sorority, and there's been multiple other ways that she touched so many lives. So if we could just pause, even right here on the air, just for a minute, in honor of Rachel Dowding, and her murderer has been arrested. But if we could pause for in honor of Rachel and her supervisor, who was also her friend, said, he may win the fight, but he doesn't win the battle. That was something she said in honor of Rachel. Rachel, we're going to keep your name alive, and we're going to do what we can within systems here in Pittsburgh to continue to fight a good fight so that this battle will not be given away to those who use power and control and ultimately death. Can we just take a moment of silence? Thank you so much. Again,
Quick, does she have any children?
yes, yes. Again, whether you hear this when it it originally airs here in January 2022, or whether you hear this in July, August, September, whenever you hear it, please know that in the United States, 4 to 6 thousand lives are lost annually at the hands of an intimate partner violence. Why the discrepancy in number? Because a lot of them do not get reported as such. Let me give you an example. You may hear sometimes there was a house fire, a mother and 3 children were burned and did not survive. The husband, father wasn't home at the time. And I don't want to give the impression that the fathers and men are the only ones that abuse or murder. We know that's not true. I just use examples based on so many statistics, the statistics of women who are abused. And that includes trans women as well. You know, there's so many women, the statistics for trans women, Black trans women particularly, who was murdered really increased. I'm sorry, I don't remember that number off my heart, but last year during the pandemic of 2021, that number really increased. So when you hear me, I do not mean to offend anyone. Someone out here lost a son, a nephew, a dad to intimate partner violence. So we don't mean to offend anyone if we use a gender example. Trust me, we know it happens in all genders, all ethnicities, all socioeconomic status. This week in Pittsburgh, a male committed homicide on his female former partner. Please keep that family in your thoughts, in your prayers. With that, I think it's me to talk about another episode. Is it my turn, or should I talk about another one?
And keep in mind that we're coming close to an end where this is
okay. Thank you. So quickly, I will just say, and thank you, Roxanne, for asking if Rachel had children. We had an episode with Trey Skelton. Trey Skelton is a children, youth, and family / intimate partner violence specialist at the Women's Center and Shelter of Greater Pittsburgh. He works with clients who are in the system of children, youth, and families and domestic violence. And he gave us a good uplifting message around dads. So everything is not always the end of the story. Some dads really do want to do better and be in their kids' lives. And he talked about, I love one of the stories he shared, and I just want to share. When we talk about dads parent differently than moms do, you know, one example he used, like, you may see a dad roughhousing with their kid and playing with them and, you know, tossing the baby in the air and catching the baby. And the mother in the meantime is like, don't do that. Stop. What if you drop the baby? Oh, quit. You know, they're just mothers sometimes may just be the nervous ones in the family, right? So he talked about that fathers do just parent differently, you know, and in a healthy relationship, you know, it's okay to stand back and let dad be dad, you know. Again, that's not talking about where there's an imbalance in power and control. It's talking about just let dad be dad. Men and fathers are needed in the family. They're needed. Yes, they need to be there physically and emotionally safe. And when they are, we need to have space to embrace that in the household. And when there isn't, when there is not that healthy space, there is room for improvement. And stay true to knowing that men can change. We do have batterers intervention programs here in Allegheny County, in Philadelphia, and most likely wherever you're listening, because they are worldwide. So there are people working specifically with men all across the world to help them learn not to use power and control.
So in July, we had one called Destined to Be. And this was with a young lady who's a certified life coach, Sharita Thomas. And she shared how to find your purpose, what purpose is, how do you live out your purpose, and how do you grow your purpose? And those are some of the things she talked about. And she said that, how did she say it? She said, what are some things you need to let go of for your purpose to truly manifest within your life? So that was a good one too. And manifestation to me was like the buzzword for the last year. It's like every time I turn around, I'm just hearing that word. And let me tell y'all, it's real. So look it up, start practicing it so you can manifest good things in your life. Relationships, money, health, all of it. It will come to you. So yeah. So check out Destined to Be on July 8th, 2021.
All right. So let me make sure I mention our sponsor. As Roxanne said, Vashti was a guest for us from Lutheran Settlement House. Lutheran Settlement House is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They are a multi-layered service program. They have a domestic violence program. They have a food bank. They have programs for seniors and for children. So they just have a plethora of services, and they're located on Langford Avenue, 1340 Langford Street, I'm sorry. And their phone number, if you're in the Philadelphia area or not, you can call 215-426-8610. 215-426-8610 in the Philadelphia area. Thank you to Lutheran Settlement House for being a sponsor.
Yes, thank you guys. So you got one more, or is this me now? This is the last one?
Last one.
Okay, cool. And this one was very interesting to me because I never thought of it. And the title is Vacationing with One Who Abuses. Oh my gosh. I really, really enjoyed that because I never thought about that. So this was Rhonda's vision, and she talked about safety planning tips that we are going to be adding to our website. So you'll be able to check that out at warheals.org. That's WAARHEALS.org. Give me a little bit of time to get it up there. So we'll have those tips on there. And I had asked, previously we talked, Rhonda always gives the national hotline number. And I asked her if there was such a thing as an international hotline number, and she wasn't aware of one. I wasn't aware of one. Lo and behold, well, there is not a hotline number, but my God, I found a resource of international emergency numbers, and I'll put that on the website as well. But it's called www.mysticmag.com. Now /psychic-reading. I'm gonna put this in the show notes because this is just too much. But I'm telling you, anywhere in the world, Belgium, anywhere in the UK. So now we do have a resource list. If you're traveling abroad and God forbid you have something happen to you, there are numbers that you can reach out to these individuals. And there will be an app available probably by June. Let me see. I think June. And it will be on there as well. I'm developing the app, so that's one of my new projects. So it's a resource locator. So you'll be hearing more about that as well. But I will have all of these international numbers as well as our United States numbers. All of the numbers will be there for people to reach out. And I think that's it, other than Rhonda wanted me to mention that now it didn't happen this month because the last Thursday of the month, I think is tomorrow, right? Yeah. Normally this has been a rough kind of, Rhonda was sick, I've been sick. It's just been crazy this past 2 months. So we did not have our live panel this month, but normally it's on the last Thursday of the month from 5 to 7, and it's via Zoom. And we would love for you to join us. We would love for you to send us an email so that we can add you to our list. And our email address is info@warheals.org. And that's info@WAARHEALS.org. And I think with that, we're basically done because we are. So
thank you for joining. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. So check out our go to buzzsprout.com to see our listings, or you can go to my website, warheals.org. And most of them should be up there. But if you go to the Buzzsprout site or go to Spotify or Apple, any of them, they're all listed on there as well. So, and on our YouTube channel, you can check out the video version of this. So And we'll just like to let you know that
Okay.
we got
Got
your back. Hey, Rhonda, I was listening to something and reviewing this stuff. Do you know that we've only said that in unison once? This is episode 20 or something. I was cracking up. I said, well, at least we did it one time. I don't know.
I love it. Like we said, that R for Rhonda, keep it real. That R for Roxanne, nothing but the reality. That's what it is, y'all. But we do, we have you back.
Yeah.
Get
Thank
in
you
touch
so
with
much,
us.
guys. We really, really appreciate you.
Once again, we want to thank you for joining us today. We hope that you heard something which will stick on your mind this week. And even more, we hope that you will find someone to share the message with. We have one request. Please engage with us. Follow us and like and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. We're at warheels_ on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Spelled out, that is WARHEALS_. And on Facebook, you'll find us at War Heals. Please plan to join us next time. And in the meantime, you can find all of our episodes archived wherever you listen to podcasts. See you next time on Healing Space Live and Online. Chats with Roxanne and Rhonda.